The string quartet's soft waltz floated through the grand ballroom, every note as polished as the cut crystal on the tables. I sat perfectly still, shoulders back, the smooth silk of my midnight blue dress cool against my skin. From the outside, I probably looked like the picture of composure, a woman who had long ago mastered the art of quiet confidence. But beneath that calm surface, my pulse thudded like a drum. My sister, Hannah, raised her champagne flute, her white satin gown catching the chandelier's light like a flash of ice. The crowd hushed. "I want to thank everyone for celebrating with me tonight," she began, her voice warm and honeyed. "Especially my little sister, Olivia. Always the overachiever. Sometimes I wonder if she's competing with me or just trying to prove she's enough." Laughter rippled through the tables. The sound was light, harmless on the surface, but each chuckle landed sharp as a paper cut. I forced a smile, my fingers tightening around the stem of my glass. The cool crystal pressed into my palm until I felt the faint sting of pressure. The scent of white roses from the centerpieces mixed with the tang of champagne, making my stomach twist. My phone buzzed in my clutch once, then again, like a quiet reminder of the life I'd built far from this family. I lifted my chin, letting the mask of calm settle back into place. Hannah had no idea who I'd become. Not yet. The laughter from the wedding hall blurred into a distant echo as my mind slipped backward, years earlier, to a night that smelled of rain-soaked pavement and cheap takeout. I was 21, home from college for the summer, and still naive enough to think family love was unconditional. Hannah and I had always been different. She, the golden child with a natural glow, me, the quiet striver, scribbling plans in spiral notebooks while everyone else danced in the living room. That evening, the air in our parents' kitchen was heavy with unspoken tension. Hannah sat cross-legged on the counter, her perfect blonde waves falling over her shoulders, tapping her phone as if my presence barely registered. Mom leaned against the sink, arms folded tight. "You're wasting your time with those big city dreams," Mom said, her voice sharp. "Your sister's getting engaged next month. Maybe it's time you thought about something real. A steady job. A family." My heart hammered. "Grad school is real," I replied, trying to keep my voice even. "I've worked for this." Hannah snorted without looking up. "Sure, Liv. Maybe you'll impress some professor. But out in the real world, nobody wants an overeducated nobody." The words landed like stones. I felt heat rising behind my eyes, the metallic taste of swallowed hurt. My hands trembled as I gripped the back of a chair. Grandma June, who'd been silently stirring her tea, finally set down her spoon with a soft clink. Her voice, though frail, cut through the room. "Olivia, don't you dare shrink because someone else can't see your light. People who mock what they don't understand usually fear it." She reached across the table and pressed something into my palm, a small silver locket, its surface etched with a delicate vine. "This belonged to my mother," she whispered. "Wear it as a promise. To yourself, not to them." I closed my fingers around the locket, feeling the cool metal steady my shaking hand. Something inside me hardened. Not bitterness, but resolve. That night, as the house fell silent, I packed a single suitcase. By sunrise, I was on a bus bound for New York City, Grandma's locket warm against my skin. I didn't look back. New York greeted me with a sharp scent of rain on hot pavement and the constant thrum of possibility. My first apartment was a narrow studio above a corner deli in the East Village, barely big enough for a twin bed and a single wobbly table. But to me, it was a kingdom. Each morning, I clasped Grandma June's locket before stepping out, as if the cool silver could anchor me through the chaos. I juggled 2 part-time jobs, barista at dawn, receptionist by day, while attending evening classes in marketing and finance. There were nights when exhaustion settled over me like a heavy quilt. My chipped nail polish reminded me of the glamour I couldn't yet afford. But every late-night walk home, the city lights winked like a promise. Keep going. The turning point came when I volunteered at a women's networking event just to get a free meal. That's where I met Margaret Lee, a seasoned entrepreneur with streaks of silver in her dark hair and the kind of presence that made a room lean in. She caught me refilling coffee cups and asked about my story. I blurted it all out: college dreams, family doubt, grandma's locket. Instead of pity, her eyes lit with recognition. "You have grit," she said simply, sliding a business card across the table. "Call me. I need someone who sees the world the way you do." That call changed everything. Margaret became my mentor, pushing me through late-night strategy sessions and early morning pitch meetings. She taught me how to spot market gaps, how to read a room, how to turn a no into a not yet. I launched my first boutique marketing firm from that same cramped studio, balancing invoices on the wobbly table and celebrating each tiny victory. My first small client, my first profitable quarter, the first time I could afford more than instant noodles. Doubt was a constant shadow. Every time a potential investor dismissed me with a patronizing smile, every time a competitor questioned whether a young woman could lead. But I kept my head down, letting results speak. By the time I turned 28, Hayes Creative was running national campaigns for major lifestyle brands. My name began to circulate quietly in industry circles: an innovator, a strategist, a woman who built an empire without a safety net. Family calls remained polite but surface level. Hannah, now a single mother after a brief, chaotic marriage, rarely asked for details about my life. I offered vague updates: "Work's busy," or "Things are good." No one back home knew that I now owned a glass-walled office overlooking Madison Avenue, or that I'd bought the apartment across from Central Park with cash. The locket still rested against my collarbone every morning, a quiet reminder of why I'd left and what I'd built. I didn't need their validation. But a part of me, deep down, wondered how they'd react if they knew. The string quartet's melody slid into a slower tune as the waiters began clearing dinner plates. Hannah's toast still hung in the air like a sour note. Guests clinked glasses and leaned in for small talk, but I stayed perfectly still, every nerve thrumming. Across the room, my mother gave me the same tight smile she'd worn years ago in our kitchen, the one that said, "Be polite, don't make a scene." I rose, smoothing the silk of my dress. The navy fabric whispered against my skin, a sound that steadied me. Grandma June's locket rested warm at my throat, as if she were standing beside me. "Excuse me," I said, stepping toward the microphone. My heels clicked across the marble floor, each step measured and sure. The room quieted. Even the quartet seemed to fade into silence. I met Hannah's eyes. For the briefest moment, something flickered there: surprise, maybe unease. "I'd like to raise a glass," I began, my voice carrying across the room. "To my sister, Hannah. Tonight is her night, and she deserves every bit of happiness." Polite applause followed. I waited, letting the quiet stretch. When Hannah mentioned earlier that she sometimes wonders if I'm trying to prove I'm enough, I paused, letting my gaze sweep the crowd. She's not wrong. A ripple of awkward laughter. "For years," I continued, "I fought to be seen, to be valued, not just by my family, but by myself. And in that fight, I found something better than approval. I found purpose." I reached into my clutch and pulled out a slim leather folio. "Many of you don't know what I do. I rarely talk about it when I'm home, but tonight seems like the right time." I opened the folio and held up a single sheet of embossed stationery: "Hayes Creative, Olivia Hayes, founder and CEO." Gasps stirred the room. "We launched our first national campaign 2 years ago," I said evenly. "Last quarter we closed a deal that put our valuation in 8 figures. We employ 50 people. We create work I'm proud of." I let the words settle. The air felt charged, alive. Across the room, my father blinked hard. My mother's lips parted, but no sound came. Hannah's cheeks flushed beneath her bridal makeup. I softened my tone. "This isn't about competition, Hannah. It never was. I wanted you to know that the sister you teased for chasing impossible dreams built them. Quietly. Without anyone's permission." Silence stretched, heavy and electric. Then, from somewhere near the back, a single person, one of the older relatives, began to clap. Another joined, then another, until the ballroom echoed with applause. I caught Hannah's gaze again. Beneath her shock, I saw something unexpected, a glimmer of something like respect, or maybe envy. I closed the folio and lifted my glass. To Hannah, I said, steady and warm, may your marriage be filled with courage and love. And may we all learn that our worth is never measured by someone else's expectations. The room erupted in cheers. I lowered the microphone, heart steady, the locket warm against my skin. For the first time in years, I felt no need to hide who I had become. The applause faded into the soft clinking of glasses, but a charge lingered in the air, like the hush that follows a thunderclap. Hannah stood motionless, bouquet wilting slightly in her grip. I stepped away from the microphone and joined her at the head table. For a heartbeat, neither of us spoke. The faint scent of her gardenia perfume mingled with the warm wax of the taper candles. "Liv," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't know." I placed a gentle hand on her arm. "I know you didn't. That's the point." Her eyes brimmed, a flicker of the little sister I once knew, before the bitterness, before the years of half-jokes that sliced like paper cuts. I drew a slow breath, the locket cool against my skin, grounding me. "Hannah, I'm proud of what I've built. But that doesn't erase the hurt of the past. If we're going to move forward as sisters, something has to change." Her shoulders slumped. "What do you want me to do?" I met her gaze steadily. "First, no more jokes at my expense, public or private. Words matter. Second, find something that's yours. Not a marriage to impress mom and dad. Not a punchline. Something that lights you up inside." She swallowed hard. "You think I can?" "I know you can," I said softly. "Being a single mother doesn't make you unwanted. It makes you resilient. But you have to believe that, not just say it." A tear slipped down her cheek. I turned to where my parents sat frozen in their chairs. "And you too," I continued, my voice firm but not unkind. "If you want a real relationship with me, it can't be built on dismissing my choices. You don't have to understand every decision I make, but you will respect them." My father opened his mouth, closed it again. Finally, he nodded, his jaw tight. My mother blinked quickly, the first crack in her practiced composure. "This isn't about revenge," I said, letting my eyes move from face to face. "It's about building something honest. We can have that, or we can keep pretending. I'm done pretending." For a long moment, the only sound was the gentle rustle of the quartet tuning for their next song. Then Hannah reached for my hand, her grip surprisingly strong. "I'll try," she whispered. "For you and for me." I squeezed back, feeling a quiet release in my chest. Grandma June's locket warmed against my skin, as though her spirit approved. Tonight wasn't about proving I was enough. It was about claiming the space I'd earned, and inviting my family to meet me there on my terms. Weeks passed after the wedding, each day carrying a quiet shift I hadn't dared to expect. Hannah called every few days, short check-ins at first, then longer talks that spilled past midnight. Instead of teasing, she asked about my work, listened without the old edge of rivalry. Sometimes I heard her little boys giggle in the background, and she'd laugh softly, a sound without armor. One evening she admitted, "I used to think if I joked about you, people wouldn't notice how scared I was about raising a child alone, about failing. I'm sorry, Liv." Her words were shaky but real. I felt the sting of old hurt, but it no longer controlled me. "Thank you for saying that," I said. "You're stronger than you realize." Even my parents began to thaw. My mother sent a handwritten note, short, careful, but hers. "We're proud of you. We should have said it sooner." My father started calling on Sunday mornings, sometimes only to share a story from his garden. None of it erased the past. But it wasn't about erasure. It was about building something new. Late one crisp autumn night, I stood by my apartment's floor-to-ceiling windows, the city lights glittering like 1,000 tiny promises. The locket rested against my collarbone. I opened it and traced the delicate vine etched into the silver. Grandma June's words echoing in memory. "Don't you dare shrink, because someone else can't see your light." The girl who left home with a single suitcase had found her place, not in anyone's approval, but in her own steady brilliance. Behind me, the soft buzz of my phone signaled another message from Hannah. "We're coming to visit next month. Can't wait for you to meet Noah properly. He keeps asking about Aunt Liv." A slow smile spread across my face. Grandma June was right. The light had always been there. I turned from the window, shoulders squared, heart light. My worth, I whispered into the quiet room, was never theirs to measure.